In the annals of history, it is documented as civil case number 4873 of 1986 and civil appeal number 3 of 1987. The SM Otieno case was a convoluted cocktail of legal, cultural, ethnic and political tensions that gripped the country for several months. The epic battle for Nyalgunga. My name is Duncan Haimba. From December 1986 until May 1987, Kenya witnessed perhaps the most protracted epic legal battle for the dead. In a period of about 6 months, the body of a prominent criminal lawyer, SM Otieno, lay at the city mortuary under heavy police guard as his widow, Virginia Edith Wamboyo Otieno, engaged in an emotional legal tussle with her brother-in-law Joash Ochieng Ougo on one hand and members of the Umira Kager clan on the other. The war was about who had a final say on where the body of the prominent advocate was to be laid to rest. Silvano Melea Otieno, popularly known as SM Otieno, was born on 20th February 1931 in Nyamila village, Nyalgunga sub-location in central Alego, Siaya County. He went to Simenya Primary and CMS Maseno before later securing a scholarship to study medicine, only for him to change course midway by switching to law. In 1974, he began concentrating on criminal law, which raised his profile to a very prominent advocate. But as fate would have it, on a quiet Saturday evening on December 20th, 1986, he took his final bow. Tiras Wayaki Thuku is a nephew to the now deceased Wamboyo Otieno and by extension SM Otieno.
He just passed out and they got him into the car. In those days, you didn't have Karen Hospital. You didn't have any hospital in Ngong. They drove all the way from Upper Matasia to Nairobi Hospital in 15 minutes. Quick as they could. Shwa. At the hospital, he was pronounced dead on arrival.
Wayaki was 8 years old at the time, but vividly remembers how drama began unfolding a few days after the death of the then firebrand advocate, SM Otieno.
Those days it was VOK, Voice of Kenya. It made 2 different announcements about the same thing. One announcement said SM is going to be buried in Upper Matasia, and the other one said he's going to be buried in Nyalgunga, in a place called Nyamila, where he had been born and bred. But that was now the crystal clear indication of what lay in store.
A dispute had arisen between 2 closest persons to the departed criminal lawyer. His wife, Virginia Edith Wamboyo Otieno, now deceased, was up in arms against Joash Ochieng Ougo, the only sibling to SM Otieno. The widow Wamboyo Otieno wanted to bury her late husband at his Upper Matasia home in the outskirts of Ngong town, while Joash Ochieng, together with members of the Umira Kager clan, wanted him buried at his Nyalgunga ancestral home. Battle lines had been drawn, and Wamboyo Otieno fired the first salvo.
Auntie moved to court. She won the first round. There was a very liberal judge then, known as Justice Frank Shields. And in his European innocence and way of thinking, he thought the wife is the next of kin, she has the right to bury him. But this is Africa.
On December 30th, 1986, the late Wamboyo Otieno moved to Nairobi High Court, seeking orders to restrain SM Otieno's brother Joash Ougo, the representative of the Umira Kager clan, Omolo Siranga, from removing the body of the deceased from city mortuary, a matter that infuriated the Umira Kager clan.
Auntie Wamboyo is Mau Mau, she's a fighter. She was going to put up a fight. In private, maybe my mom tried talking to her and saying, Wamboyo, look. But Auntie said, look, SM said, Msaja was very clear. When I die, take me to Abamatasia. That's where we're going to have a family cemetery. That's where I'm going to be buried. But Uncle did not leave a will, and unfortunately.
Justice retired Richard Otieno Kwach was picked by the Nyalgunga community to represent the Umira Kager clan in court to challenge Wambui's application, a clan that could hear none of her pleadings to bury her husband.
One could understand the anger of Wambui Otieno. She was a very combative and very intelligent woman. But what really what the tribe could not take is that here is a woman, a wife from another tribe coming to dictate to us what we should do with our traditions. And some of those things we're talking about are, if you go through your records, you'll never find a single case where a Luo woman has taken on the clan over the issue of the place of burial. They have the secret. They know where they are. The decision was made even before you were married in that home.
Wambui Otieno settled for the veteran High Court advocate Dr. John Haminwa. The late SM Otieno, Richard Otieno Kwach, and John Haminwa were among the best advocates in the 80s. Haminwa knew too well the epic legal battle he was wading in.
It was a sensitive matter because at that time, majority of our people were being buried in their ancestral homes. And Wambui Otieno, the widow of SM Otieno, was raising a very important matter or important issue. She wanted her husband to be buried in accordance with his wishes on the outskirts of Nairobi. So I anticipated that it would not be a very easy matter at all. It would be a matter that would have to be taken very seriously.
It was civil case Virginia Edith Wambui Otieno versus Joash Ochieng Ougo and Omolo Siranga of the Umira Kager clan. Common law versus traditions, the epic battle for Nyalgunga.
It was an accepted fact that the women did not have much say in how the remains of their husbands were to be buried. But Wambui Otieno was now asserting herself as a woman who had received very good education and a woman who had received exposure. She wanted to see that the wishes of her husband were carried out.
The clan had to have a say because they believed, and rightly so, that Otieno's place of burial was determined on the day he was born. He was born in Nyalgunga. And being an adult Luo, there was no other place he could have been buried under the customs of the tribe.
The retired justice admits that Wambui Otieno had put up a concrete case. John Haminwa had molded his litigation firmly on common law and succession laws, which made it a very strong case.
The only thing that they made, the mistake they made, was to believe that when the clan weighed in, we were simply going to respond to their case. Yeah. So we looked at it. And I have to say that the initial decision of Mr. Justice Shields before we came in was correct on the basis of the case as pleaded. So, knowing what customary law is, we discussed and we agreed that if we were to meet the widow's case head on, we had no chance.
The Kwach-led Umira Kager clan struck with tradition as their weapon. The Nyalgunga battalion told the court that SM Otieno's ghost would haunt and torment his survivors if at all he would be buried outside his ancestral home.
Among the Luos, we have to account for the death of every adult male. Yep. You try to return them to the place where their placentas was buried. So, if, for example, Otieno was buried at Matasia, as prominent as he was, no woman would have named her baby after him.
It took an international angle. The international media came in and they said, a woman is fighting for the right to bury her own husband. And this was the time, remember, this was the UN decade. It was just after the UN decade, UN Women's Decade. So feminism was also taking center stage. And women came in, women politics and all that. And at school, us guys certainly gained prominence.
The widow had won round one of the case. However, when Justice Frank Shields declined to lift the injunction preventing the Umira Kager clan from either picking the body from the morgue or the city mortuary superintendent from disposing, Otieno Kwach moved to the Court of Appeal. But before his prayers could be granted, drama shifted from the courts to the city mortuary.
Wambui won. And that was the last decision of Justice Shields came on Thursday. Thursday. Now, so at that point, there was nothing to stop the widow from going to the city mortuary, taking the body, and going to Matasia. So really, what happened? We needed to buy time until the courts reopen on Monday or Tuesday, yeah, when we could have the initial, a 5-2, our injunction to be argued. So between Thursday and Monday or Tuesday, we were, vulnerable. Yeah, so the laws just camped there. It's not the police.
And so, for 5 months, the body of prominent criminal lawyer lay at the city mortuary as the protracted legal battle, which had gripped the nation's attention, stretched on.
It was something we could not understand because we were mourning. But this mourning was taking forever. Remember, Uncle Otieno is still lying at the mortuary under police guard because the matter is at the High Court. And the courts are fearing anytime one of these two parties could come and take away the body. So there had to be cops there. And the matatus plying that route, I remember the conductors christened the city mortuary Nyumba ya Otieno, which was one of the funny things that came through from this whole incident. And they were quite right. Uncle was practically living at the morgue. Remember, this is the first death in the family for us, our generation, we who are so young. So we're still trying to grasp in our young minds what death is in the first place. What happens when you die? Where do you go? And then you have to be told, oh, you go to heaven, oh, the soul. Now, where's the soul? All these questions. But at the same time, this case is hitting you everywhere you go, even in class.